Welcome to the Business Spotlight Podcast. My name is Kay Cote, and I'm your host for today's episode. And today on the show, I have Mel Cohen, founding director of Inspired Authors Press, as my guest. We're going to be learning about his business, his journey to business ownership, best practices, and challenges that he's faced to give you that inside look to what it's like to own and operate a business. Welcome, Mel. It's so great to meet you. Thanks for being on the show today.
Thanks, Kay. I'm glad you could have me. Look forward to it.
Me too. Well, before we dive into all things business, I'd love to share with my audience a little bit about you. So take us back as far as you'd like and share a bit about yourself.
Okay, well, we'll go back to 1991. The baseball card business, trading cards, was at the height of its glory at the time. And I decided to write a book called Secret of the Pros, How to Become a Baseball Card Dealer. This is 3 years before Amazon was created. And to self-publish was, nobody ever heard of that. But couldn't get a publishing contract. So I went to libraries and just kept looking up, how do you do this? How do you do that? And ended up producing the book myself. So I self-published the book in 1991. In 4 years, it sold 25,000 copies. The last several thousand were to a distributor who then put them on Amazon. And, 36 years later or 35 years later, the book is still on Amazon. But the most important thing about a book is when you produce a book, it almost doesn't matter if you sell any copies. Your book will lead you, you'll be known as an expert in your field because you have a book. It ends up becoming just a little bit more expensive than a firm brochure. And then you pass them out, and as you pass them out, whatever price is on the back, that's the perceived value that someone thinks of the gift they just got from you, even though it may only cost 5 or 10% of that actual to produce the book.
Mhm.
So the book allowed me to buy and sell about 10 million baseball cards over the next 8 years. But the real money came to be known as an expert in baseball cards. And I was an expert witness for several law firms, and then got the call of a lifetime 6 years after the book came out. And that was from the largest class action firm in the country. They reviewed a case with me and asked if I was the judge, how would I rule? And when I told them, they said, well, that's the position we're taking. Could you be our expert witness? And I said, well, how did you find me? You're from California. They said, well, we read 30 some books on baseball cards. Yours was the most well-written, easiest to understand, and gave us more knowledge than we had with all of our experts researching the subject. So they hired me, and for 5 years, I got a very nice monthly check. And from the original case all the way up to the appeal level, we won, and I was quoted internationally, nationally, as an expert in baseball cards. So that's kind of my background. Then in 2006, went into publishing, published a book that now has surpassed 4 million units sold. And then from there, became my own publisher. And then most recently, I'm a publishing advisor. But then about 3 months ago, purchased the copyright from this book, and then I paid all the costs to produce it, rewrote it, and it's been hit Amazon bestseller status. So there's my background, and we'll let you take over from here.
Oh my gosh, that is so cool. I remember when I was in school and the kids were so into baseball cards. It wasn't really my thing, but I was like,
Mhm.
I could see when people got that like a really rare card or something like that.
Yep.
So that's very cool. Well, what a cool
Yeah.
backstory.
Well, thank
Um,
you.
well, let's take it into your publishing house now. So you started that when you wrote the first book, when you self-published? Did you like launch the LLC at that time, or is that something that came along later?
Came along later. I worked independently, and when Amazon was created, I really tried to become an expert on Amazon. So I was getting calls, hey, I popped in Amazon and the ISBN number won't load, and what can I do? So I did that for years. 2006 is when I went more full-time into it, actually worked for a publishing company. And then they were having trouble launching a book called Good and Evil. And I took over, and within 6 months had it out. They had worked on it for 7 years prior to me joining them. And then in 2014 is when I formed the LLC, and we've published between both companies about 55 books so far. I'm doing anywhere from 3 to 5 a year. In my heyday, I was doing between 8 and 10, but because I own two businesses, I'm trying to balance them, and don't want to work 50 or 60 hours a week anymore. So I've cut back to only producing 3 to 5 books a year. Most of
Okay.
them are business books.
Oh, that's my style.
Yep.
Oh, wonderful. Okay. So now looking at the business, okay, so you're publishing 3 to 5 books per year. So I want to dive into your clients. Like, who are those authors you're looking for right now? If I were to like check out your website or meet with you, how would I know I'd be a great fit for your to be your client?
There are two types of clients that retain me. One, they've tried for 2 or 3 years to get a traditional publisher to work with them,
Hmm.
and they have no success. They have spent money on literary agents. They've spent money in writing letters of acceptance. They've done whatever they could, and 2 to 3, 4 or 5 years later, their book's not on the market yet. The
Hmm.
second one would be, this has been on my bucket list. I'm 80 years old. I've never written a book. I've had the manuscript for 20 years. I recently did a book like that with a Holocaust survivor that started writing at age 15 or 16, and at age 78 found me, and I had her book on Amazon within 6 weeks. So that's the two type of clients. One that has given up on getting a traditional contract, and one that wants to use a book to further their career, to be known as an expert, to market their current businesses. A book can really just be an expensive business card. And it's got a very, very high perceived value when you give a book away. So that's my two types of clients that will find me somehow.
Oh, wow. Well, that's incredible. So, how are you finding you said they'll find you somehow. So, how are you marketing? Is it word of mouth, referrals, or are you on
It's,
social
I would
media?
say it's almost 100% referrals.
Okay.
I've actually taken down my website because I was just getting too many tire kickers. And,
Hmm.
we would have 2 or 3 or 4 meetings, and, well, I'm not sure. Let me call you back in 6 months. So now I only work with referrals, and I have enough of them. And so many people must have made a New Year's resolution that I'm going to write my book this year, because I've had more contacts in the first 14 days of this year than I had all of last year. So people are finding me.
Good. Well, that's amazing to hear. So now as a publishing house, are you it's like I'd love to hear about like your staff and what that looks like. How many staff members do you currently have on your team?
Most everybody are independent contractors. The two graphic designers and layout artists that I have, I've worked with one since 2006, one since 2012. Between those two, we've done over 50 books together. My son has joined the business, and he handles a lot of the back end stuff, does the research for me. We've delved into AI assistants. We've tried Claude. We've tried the best one that I like. When we did the book Alcoholics and Our Enablers, there were so many citations that we needed them checked, and we needed them checked fast, and we needed them updated. So a citation on alcoholism from 2021 would not be good enough to put in a book in 2025. So we used Perplexity, and we found Perplexity AI to be the best of all of them. So I after buying the copyright, I did the first rewrite of the book, then hired a medical editor that I've worked with for 40 years, and she did what she does. Then we ran it through Perplexity, sometimes as many as 26 times to get the look that we wanted. Then sent it to our graphic artist for layout and design. She did the covers, did a magnificent job. And then we produced and released the book on October 14th.
Wow, that's incredible. Well, I'm excited to dive in to talk a little bit about that book.
Okay.
Can you share a bit about it? You know, it's your most recent book.
Yeah.
Would love to hear about it.
Okay. It's called Alcoholics and Enablers. So discover the science behind lasting sobriety. 10.2% of the US population are considered alcoholics by themselves, their physicians, their spouses, employers. And every alcoholic usually has four enablers. An enabler would be a spouse that says, I know you need a drink. I'll go get a six pack for you. Or I'll stop at the state store. I'll stop at HEB to get a bottle of wine. So that's an
Mhm.
enabler. The boss says, I can't fire them. They're my best salesperson. I can't lose 300,000 a year in sales. So they enable them to function knowing that at times they're alcoholics. And then others would be family, other family members, friends. Unfortunately, there's a lot of alcoholism between 12 and 18-year-olds.
Mhm.
That's growing. That's the fastest growing percentile right now. And the parents do everything they can to hide it rather than getting them treatment in many cases. So when you
Yeah.
add 10.2% for enablers, you have about 50% of our country is an alcoholic or an enabler. And that's what the book's based about. And we have a lot of science in there, the gene structure of those that are vulnerable to alcoholism. And that's not done a lot. And there's almost no books on alcoholism that deal with enablers. And so that's why we did the book. And of over 20 reviews on Amazon, and they're all verified purchase reviews, were 4.9%. I think we've had 19 5.0s and one 4.9. So we have a 4.9% review on Amazon.
Oh, well, that's incredible. And I'm sure it's going to be very helpful for people. So I kind of want to talk about now your day to day, you know, as the leader of this amazing machine you've built. What does your day to day look like? Are you mostly working, say, in the business or on the business, or is it a little bit of both?
It's mostly in rather than on because the business is very mature.
Hmm. Hmm.
A lot of my continuing education would be learning more about Amazon, learning more about fulfillment. When I did my book and books up until about the year 2005, when you produced a book to get a legitimate printer and not pay a fortune, you needed to do 5 or 10,000 books. Well, if you
Hmm.
discovered a typo or somebody took offense to something in your book, you made a business decision. Do I throw them all away? Do I just liquidate them? What do I do with them? Now, almost every book is print on demand. So if I
Hmm.
find a typo on page 206, I notate that, call one of the upload designers. We upload a new copy to Amazon. Whoever buys the book after that gets the latest copy.
Oh, nice.
So it's a whole different world. And
Mhm.
if we're going to do, let's say, people look to Amazon, Barnes and Noble, Books a Million. That kind of pays the light bill on a book. But where you make money as an author is the peripheries around the book. Hey, I'll give you $1,000 to speak. Or if you speak, I'll buy 500 books. So you're working from cost up on that. and that gives you a tremendous amount of advantage. It's nice to get the extra income from Amazon, Barnes and Noble, Books a Million, but the real money as an author will come for you as a speaker and you being deemed as an expert in your field.
That is so true because I've seen that package deal. Like an author will usually have like a speaking opportunities, maybe some merch, maybe some courses, kind of like that wheelhouse. So is that pretty popular, you would you say, as like an author for them to find success?
Yeah, on business books.
Hmm.
I've also done a lot of children's books, a graphic novel, some books. I've done a couple books literally about dogs. One is called Everybody Loves Grace. It was a six-book series of how a lap hound was her constant companion. She was one of the first female CIA officers. It was in the Sinai Peninsula, handled the whole Middle East, and her dog was her constant companion. And she wrote about that. And then I had another dog also about a lap hound called Happy Lappy Christmas. So I've done children's books, books about dogs, books about rescue, pretty much everything. Whatever the author wants, I can produce it.
Very cool. Well, this has been such a fun conversation so far.
Thank you.
Yes, now I want to get into it's called our rapid fire questions. And
Okay.
it's four questions, and just feel free to answer very top of mind.
Sure.
All right. Question number one is, what is the key to success for you?
I would say not only working long and hard, working efficient.
Mhm.
Just the idea of using perplexity saved us tens of hours of research on what's the latest study coming from the CDC, what's the latest from NIH, where can I find 30-second videos that will explain a point. And one of them is a woman taking a drink while she's pregnant, and you watch the glass of wine go down from her esophagus into the unborn baby, and
Mhm.
the baby can be born an alcoholic through that. So just the amount of research you have to do and not be afraid. I'm 82 years old and I work 50 hours a week between two businesses, and not be afraid to keep learning. In my other business, at age 79, became a certified blockchain and digital asset advisor. And at age 80, became a certified digital asset advisor on top of being a certified financial planner. So you could never stop learning, no matter what age you are, and just be at the top of your game, no matter what the education costs and where you get it.
That is huge advice. I'm going to write that down. Thank
There you
you for
go.
sharing that. Uh, so the next question is actually, what is a piece of advice you have for other business owners?
To just be cognizant of your business, and especially with the Gen Z and millennials, as an advisor, everybody seems concerned with the top line. Well, you can't spend the top line. So one of the advice I have, if you own a business, what can you take from the top line that goes to the bottom line, pay taxes on that, and put money in your pocket? Think of money in your pocket, because of all the revenue you're generating, if there's not enough profit or markup in your goods or services, you can't put money in your pocket. And if you
Mhm.
can't put money in your pocket, you can't sustain yourself. You can't raise a family. You can't have any recreation. You can't do anything. So concentrate more on the bottom line of your business rather than the top line of your business.
That's really big. It's really big. Number three. Now, this is a fun one, just like based
Okay.
on your businesses. What is either a book, a podcast, or an article, just something that you've taken in recently?
Okay. Based on my certifications in cryptocurrency, a lot of my books are I read no books for recreation. Every book I read, I will buy to learn something. So a book called Crypto Dad, Crypto, let me look at them. The Bitcoin Standard is another one. The Confessions of an Economic Hitman, of how the US economy has grown over the last 50 years at the expense of other countries. And the best book on crypto came out about 3 years ago. It's called The Truth About Crypto by Rick Edelman. And it's a very easy to read. You don't have to have any credentials. It's really, if you want to understand the newest asset class, the first new asset class in 150 years, that's called The Truth About Crypto by Rick Edelman. And it's available on Amazon. And it's a tremendous, tremendous book.
Thank you for sharing those recommendations. For our final question of the day, or no, not the final question, the final question of our rapid fire. If
Okay.
I if I gave you a magic wand and you had the ability to rapidly improve one aspect of your business, what would it be?
I would say the acquisition process. It's a long, tedious, and probably because of my age and because I don't, I'm not striving anymore like I did when we were raising our three kids. That the financial end of my business isn't as important today as it was. It's helping people. So I tend to spend too much time. As an example, a fellow called, never knew him. His wife heard of me from someone, recommended him. He hasn't started his book yet. So usually I'll give people 15 or 20 minutes complimentary. Well, I'd like to meet in person. Can we meet? So I'm meeting him in person. It'll be an hour and a half of time. It'll be complimentary. But that's, how I've chosen to do things today. So I would say if I'd be a little more disciplined and not be so willingness to give things away, that would improve my bottom line. But I feel very comfortable about helping others, especially if they've never published before, that I will take the time to really, what's the cost? What's the effort you're going to need to put into it? And the most thing that I try to teach them, treat it like you just bought a franchise from McDonald's or Burger King or Chick-fil-A. Count the cost physically in dollars, mentally, and can you go through a 3 or 4 month process of really concentrating enough time and energy to produce a book that's going to be a bestseller?
That is great. Well, thank you so much for that, Mel. Before we get to our final question of the day, how can folks connect with you and your business online?
They can just connect through LinkedIn. Would probably be the one of them. Inspired Authors Press is the name of the company. So Inspired Authors Press at gmail.com is my email address. And for those that still like to use a phone, it's 931-446-9150. And look forward to talking to anybody that wants to talk about finances, cryptocurrencies, or book publishing.
Wonderful. Thank you, Mel. So our final question of the day
Okay.
is, what is most inspiring to you today?
To be able to get up and went out, walked a little. It's a nice, beautiful, bright, sunny day. Met with a really good friend for about an hour and a half. And as soon as we finish, we'll take my afternoon walk. I like to just, especially on bright, sunny days like today, to be able to go out, get some air, and just look at God's creation and say, boy, what a nice day it is and a great day to be alive.
Well, that's inspiring to me too, Mel. Thank you so much for being on the show today.
Thank you. Thanks for having me. Bye bye.